I was at the mayor's debate yesterday, and when I got home, I hit myself. I punched myself. I was angry at myself. And the reason was I had Mayor Andy Burke on the scene there. I had him, you might say, in the flesh near me, in proximate view of myself. I could have reached out and shaken his hand, but he was not one to want to shake my hand. I could tell he was kind of avoiding me as he flung left and right among the tables of the onlookers, about 100 people who took part yesterday as witnesses or hangers-on of the mayoral debate here at Chattanooga. And he should have been very forthcoming with me to take credit for something. The credit he should have taken was of the actions of this last week of Chief Fred Fletcher. Chief Fletcher is the chief of police here in Chattanooga and works in the executive branch. The chief, that whole department, in fact, is involved in the execution of ordinance and law. Whether the department can execute law is something I think that has a legal question over it in my mind, and I am not satisfied that it has all that authority that it routinely exercises. But still, laying that aside, I've read Chattanooga versus Davis, and I've got questions in my mind about that authority. Laying that aside, though, however, let's assume that it does have lawful authority. That department serves the executive branch of city government. City government being a municipal corporation created by the General Assembly to, under private law, if you will, to serve and govern the people who live within its borders. And the chief of police exercises and executes the will of the chief executive, which is the mayor. Mayor Andy Burke yesterday should have come up to me and said, David, I know you're concerned about this case, the Hanson Melvin case, and I've got news for you. It hasn't been reported anywhere, but I want to give it to you first, since you have been so diligent in covering the abuse of this common man, Hanson Melvin, who lives not far here from our studios in Hickson in the Northgate Crossing apartments. If he hasn't moved, he may have moved since these events happened. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, he was living there in May of 2016 when he was accosted. The mayor should have simply mentioned the Hanson Melvin case, the Hanson Melvin petition with the Internal Affairs Division of the Chattanooga Police Department, and said, David, I've got news for you. And he should have told me. He should have told me. But, you know, the mayor, an elusive man who seems almost to be an apparition when he's not in the same room with you, because his party does not return phone calls very easily, is not very forthcoming, and his campaign manager, Tyler Yount, ignored me yesterday over the hors d'oeuvres and the little fruit cups that were made available at Northgate Town Center in the little area there over the next to the platform where the candidate stood. Mr. Yount does not return emails. He said he got my emails, and I said, well, I'm just trying to help you. I'd like to make some contact with you. And he studiously looked down and served himself bits of chicken and bread and peanuts and the like, and just ignored me. So Mr. Burke, grand fellow that he is, should have overlooked these little oddities, these little hostilities that seem to be typical among Democrats who are offended. Right? The Democrats are always offended by somebody or something and just are above them. And Democrats, of course, are all above me, David Tulis, your host here at Nooga Radio. Every Democrat looks down upon me, looks down his nose upon me. And so to talk to me as a libertarian, as a classical liberal, well, we just rather not deal with Tulis. He's just kind of an annoyance, and he's for marriage and has given us just a very hard time in our getting our message out about equality, equal rights, and guy-guy sexual relationships. We are all for those things, we Democrats, and we just can't. We can't stand hidebound retromogens such as David Tulis. Right? We just cannot have that. Retromogen is a backwards pissing animal. Okay, that's what that is, and that's what they call bow tie in City Hall. If they even deign to notice you, my listener, and me, your representative, right? I represent you in a way before the mayor's office there in the clinically isolated, antiseptically protected third floor of City Hall, where he isolates himself, but he emerges every now and then with policy statements and enlarged copies of Federal Department of Homelessness letters saying that, well, perhaps we are clear in Chattanooga now of homeless veterans. They are gone. We, Andy Burke's administration, have solved the problem. Now, Mr. Burke should have knowing that I have given a slight interest to Hanson Melvin, a Christian man, father of 3 children, knowing that I have given some interest to him and belabored the media coverage, right, in his behalf, exposing wrong in the government. He should have come to me and said, David, did you not know that Officer David Campbell has been fired? My chief Fletcher, my chief executor, my chief executive in executing laws against the people of Tennessee and against Chattanoogans here in city government, he has fired David Campbell. And this revelation came to me not at a friendly chat with the mayor, an aside by the mayor, there among the tables with the gray-headed men, the well-dressed women, and others who are interested in politics, many of them, I think, probably favoring Mr. Burke. Mr. Burke, everywhere I go, seems to have supporters handy, whereas the other candidates, the challengers, of whom there are 3, seem to have a less populist audience when it comes to such events as that one. David, I got news for you. That would have been a wonderful thing rather than simply be ignored as a non-entity. But to a Democrat who's looking down his nose at me, the classical liberal, well, I'm simply not worth noticing. And neither are you, my listener. You, the listener, conservative, probably free market oriented, probably Republican, favoring homeschooling, favoring Trump, probably. You and me, your representative, I imperfectly represent you, I understand, but I do represent you in some respects before the high and the mighty, and that's why I ask the good questions. I was angry at myself yesterday, angry when I got home. I was frustrated, and I kicked myself. And here's why. Because I didn't confront Mayor Burke about Hanson Melvin. He didn't offer to tell me that Hanson Melvin had already been, given a fair note in the firing of the officer. He could have said that. But the fact that I didn't press him on it, that's what got me. And it only hit me after I got home. It didn't hit me while I was there. It didn't hit me as I was driving home, composing my story about the debate, which I did on my phone through Google Docs, which lets you talk into existence a text. I did not think about it as I was dictating my story on the road and in the parking lot of the Chick-fil-A, where I had parked briefly after departing Eastgate Town Center. I kicked myself only when I got home, but I didn't ask him. And I thought, I'm just like everybody else. I'm just like all the media. Everybody is so kind. Everybody's so polite. No one asks the hard questions. I'm the slow man of Chattanooga. David Tulis, your host. David Tulis, the slow man. And I did not ask the slow man question, the dumb question. I should have said, Mayor Burke, tell us about the Rochelle Gelpin. Tell us about the Gelpin and the Hanson Melvin cases. Why have there not been firings in the police department over these abusive arrests where Hanson Melvin was accosted walking while black in an apartment complex? He was lied about on the police report. It was demanded of him that he produce a driver's license, though he was merely a pedestrian. It was demanded that he tell his social security number by Officer David Campbell, and he refused to do so. And for refusing to do so, he was arrested. He was taken in his night shoes down to the processing center at the county courthouse. He was inducted. His details, his social security number demanded of him there and appearing now in public record. Shameful. And then he was indicted. The officer having to be consistent with himself, having to lie a second time on his appearance or in his appearance before the grand jury. Not only is that just perjury, that's felony perjury. You lie on a police report or you lie in any document that the state gives you under penalty of perjury, that's misdemeanor perjury. And to do it before a forum, before a grand jury, that's felony perjury. Felony perjury. That means that if you get convicted, you spend or could spend more than a year in prison. And Why have you not done something about this man? Especially, Mr. Burke, since, this is what I should have been saying, especially since Mr. Melvin is a minority. Well, I wouldn't have done that. I would not have brought that up. I would have hopefully been better than that and not falling to cheap arguments. It's a cheap argument to say that Campbell is white and Melvin is black. That's cheap and beneath me. I probably would not have done it unless I was just feeling somehow desperate to make a point. I should have simply said, without probable cause, that being the main reason that it is abusive. There was no probable cause to even talk to Hanson Melvin as he walked past the officer, who was one of several officers who had come to the scene near where Hanson Melvin lives to clear up some kind of fight or fracas. There were about 5 cruisers there and hordes of cops. And Campbell, recognizing Melvin, came over as Hanson Melvin walked by, harassed him, and confronted him for not having his license while walking. Confronted him for not stating his social security number. And that is, my friend, is disorderly conduct, and you are going to pay. You're going to pay for that. I should have asked this question loudly, and I should have gotten people on my side, because there were people there of particularly sensitive racial interests, right? People who are concerned about abuse by the state, by cops of black people. Black people generally dislike police. They generally are fearful of them, especially if they're young and male. This category of man, citizen and resident of Chattanooga, is particularly vulnerable to harassment by the police. Hanson Melvin tells me that he's been stopped 30 times. He's not even 30 years old, and has been stopped roughly 1 year for every life he has lived on this earth. And I'm a white man. I've been stopped once or twice. That's about it. And always because I had a light out, or because I ran a red light. That's why I have been stopped in the past. But Melvin, well, he's young and black. And so, well, maybe his car's not up to speed, not up to date, maybe a little older model. And so he gets stopped. I should have confronted the mayor, not knowing the facts at the time, not knowing the facts last night at the debate. I should have done this before the debate began, made it noisy, made it loud, shouted across several tables to him, and made a scene. I should have made a scene, because the mayor's race is slipping away. And it seemed to me yesterday that nothing was going to be done. And now, this morning, in the Chattanooga Times Free Press that broke the story, we learn that Chief Fletcher has fired David Campbell, and did so last week. My report on this at Nooganomics.com may not be entirely accurate. I think there may be a conflict between the day and the date. So I'll have to fix that. But you can read more about this at Nooganomics.com, our chief sponsor. This is David Tulis, and I am the editor of the website for The Man Who Matters. And, it's not a popular website, but, I don't really care. And you know why I don't mind that I have just one reader on that website? Because that reader is the man who matters. Now, if it's you, well, thanks for joining me here and getting the oral version of my arguments. But I do a great yeoman's work as editor and journalist defending local economy and the free market. I work all morning and sometimes all night. And then I issue forth the report orally, and sometimes, in some parts of it, in type. And you read the type at Nooganomics.com, the website for The Man Who Matters, the website and the platform of this multimedia giant, Nooga Radio, a giant in the media. Giant in Chattanooga. We're on Facebook at Nooga Radio. We're live on YouTube and Nooga Radio again. And you can find out about us on your smart device, your Kindle. And that is at if you have the TuneIn Radio app. It's a great app. And you just have it on your smart device. And no matter where you are, even if you're drifting down the highway past the powerful, powerful pulse of our live signal that pulses through ground and earth this evening, you will be able to tune into my program, offered here humbly. And my name is David Tulis, and I am the mild-mannered bow tie editor. The bow tie today is not in good shape. I must say it's kind of sloopy and sloppy and dripping and bent down just a bit, as if it were sad. And yet, I'm not sad. I'm actually very happy. I'm angry at myself for having messed up yesterday, been part of the panty waist media here in Chattanooga. I was the leader. I should have been the one to stand up and ask the question. And yet I pretended to be nice. I did not ask directly anything of the mayor. What a coward. What a lout that I did not. And I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for you that I didn't. And I regret it. And I ask you, my listener, to forgive me. And I make repentance, if you will, in ink at Nooganomics.com this morning. The second story back, the lead story today at Nooganomics.com is Chief Fires Cop for Arresting Melvin, quote, walking while black. That's the headline. And you're going to get that at Nooganomics.com. The story in the Chattanooga Times Free Press is online, of course. That's my source today. And also in the print editions. However, the print edition is inside the Metro section, Section B, and really deserves Section A1. A1. A bad decision, perhaps, by the editors, but they have not, they read New York Times, and they read Washington Post, and they read the Associated Press, and not covering local news as closely, perhaps, as they ought to, given the fact that they're the local paper, right? The paper record. They've really missed out on the Hanson Melvin case, though they broke this important story about Chief Fred Fletcher serving Andy Burke, serving the mayor in a right and good way, and firing David Campbell. Now, there's some question perhaps that you might raise about the timing of this. Why, if the investigation internal to the department was settled long ago, settled in the summer, why has it taken almost until March of the following year to fire the officer who, in the meantime, is operating on the public street, operating as if it were as a gang member, right? A gang wearing blue, but nonetheless a vertically integrated gang member, not mindful of his authority, not mindful of the rule of law that is to govern his activities on behalf of the state. He is a state actor, a state agent. And for months now, Chief Fred Fletcher, perhaps at the behest of the mayor, has just sat on this case, this administrative lawsuit, if you will. His only authority is there's no penalty attached, just firing. The firing of the officer, that's the gravest penalty. It is a form of capital punishment, if you will, in the administrative realm in a claim made against an officer. It is capital punishment to be fired. The head is chopped off, effectively decapitation in employment, and he rolls on, if you will, to other employment in other agencies, possibly, that overlook the indiscretion of abusive arrest. So the timing is very favorable to Andy Burke. But I say, okay, that's fine. I understand that. I understand the compromise that the mayor makes, the compromise Chief Fred Fletcher is forced to make. He's forced to make it because he would say, we need to fire Campbell now. The mayor perhaps saying, well, let's just wait a little longer. But I want to take back something here. I want to take back, if I made it too strongly, the suggestion that the mayor is calculating. If the mayor were calculating in this, why did he not tell me yesterday when he saw me, David, I've got news for you. If he were calculating, he would have done that. But he didn't do that. He just ignored me. And so that suggests that his motive is not in timing so much, and that he doesn't perhaps think to gain a lot of political advantage from Chief Fred Fletcher's action in firing Officer David Campbell. It is in his favor. It's happening here right before the election. But police actions are not closely linked to the mayor's office, as they should be. In my estimation, the mayor should take credit for every solved murder investigation. Everyone. He should say, this is my doing. I've done that. He should take credit for it. And Mayor Burke should take credit for all these good things done by police officers, every single one of them. And abusive actions by police officers, well, he should take the blame. It's highly political. Policing is extraordinarily political. It is not ever neutral, even though Larry Groen, for example, thinks that somehow it can be, somehow that you can be a hands-off mayor. Well, no mayor is ever hands-off. Police departments are part of the executive branch. They serve the mayor. They execute the law. They execute the ordinance. It is a highly political department. And the main lesson it teaches, of course, is that the state is God, and that you, the commoner, must be subject to the state at all times. You must live in fear of it, of offending its sensibilities, of offending its little rules and statutes. and being penalized in the judicial industrial complex if you are careless or if you willfully abuse a law or a statute. That's the problem we have with positive law, where common law crimes are converted into statutory crimes, and we have many crimes now on the book that are victims. There is no real victim. There's no real injury. Just an offense, right? Just an offense against this pretended god of the state. Well, this is David Tulis, and Andy Burke deserves credit for the firing of an officer by his chief deputy, Fred Fletcher. This is David Tulis. I've got some important messages.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
April 40 New Radio News, Russell Stroud reporting. Eastridge police say that after an argument, a man was shot on Burns Avenue at about 1 a.m. Officers found 37-year-old male pierced by a bullet in the abdomen. Investigators say that the gunman escaped in a Nissan Frontier-style pickup with the female about the same age as himself. Witnesses say that the altercation started over that woman. David Campbell, a Chattanooga police officer, has been fired after a disciplinary hearing for harassment, false arrest, and vehicle use policy violation. He's the arresting officer in the Hanson Melvin case covered on Nooganomics.com, in which Officer Campbell's possible lying on a police report is covered. A home on Signal Mountain burst into flames. The duplex is a complete loss. Firefighters say that there were no injuries. Damage is estimated to be about $400,000. A strange outbreak of graffiti in Ooltewah is causing confusion among neighbors. They say racial slurs were spray painted in orange spray paint right next to an elementary school. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Nooga Radio News. Be sure to like us on Facebook, the exclusive home of NASCAR.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Final expenses, funeral costs, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate costs, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Free discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today, 423-855-8484.
$25 goes by quickly these days, and 25 cents still just a quarter. 25 is the years of experience Schultz & Associates puts behind filing your tax return quickly, correctly, and electronically. Schultz & Associates.
Hi, I'm Chip Chapman with this question. Are you concerned about getting a timely refund this year? There is a solution. Ask Schultz & Associates about Refund Advantage. It's a no-interest loan that allows you to get your tax refund quickly, but some tax refund product fees do apply, so make sure and understand the details. You can receive your refund quickly via check or prepaid credit card. Ask about Refund Advantage when you visit Schultz & Associates, 6310 Bonnie Oaks Drive, or call 899-1130. Schultz & Associates.
Baseball sluggers often wear the number 25, or 25 is a full MLB roster. Just happens 25 is also the years of experience Schultz & Associates with filing your tax return quickly, correctly, and electronically. Schultz & Associates, 899-1130.
Oh, he got bad breath. And once he slobbered. But your dog's teeth are important for his health. The canine dentist at Wolf Fever has an offer. Listen, ultrasonic cleaning, polishing, x-rays, only $135. Ordinarily, you'd pay $175. For a few days, pay only $135. And get $115 in freebies as a thank you. Grooming, boarding at the inn at Wolf Fever. Act this week. Use anytime this year. Floss and rinse now. 344-1913. WolfFever.com. Your marriage is over. You've been abandoned, betrayed. You're angry, shattered, and heartbroken. Don't go it alone. When you are facing divorce, you need an experienced advocate to help protect your rights and future. And you need it from a man with a sympathetic heart, but a hard nose. Attorney Clay Whitaker will fight for you in this most confusing and bitter time in your life. Clay Whitaker, 756-6400.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Expect more clouds, but mainly dry weather for your Tuesday. Back into the upper 60s. Could see a late shower tonight. A few scattered showers will pass on through, lows into the lower to middle 50s. For Wednesday, not bad. Could see a quick passing shower. Back into the upper 60s, lower 70s Thursday. With quality parts and more than 90 years of experience, Napa Auto Parts can help you keep just about anything on the road. So stop by your local Napa Auto Parts store and keep it running longer and stronger with Napa know-how. And I'm Sworn Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
This is David Tulis, and I'm glad you're giving me a couple of minutes of your time here at Nooga Radio. Nooga Radio, we are the station for the man who matters, and even other people, right? There are other people who tune in as well, and we welcome them, but we especially welcome you, my listener. We have a great lineup every day, and we are locally owned and locally operated. I know when you hear that, you just kind of tune out, but for us, these words are pregnant. They are bulging with significance. So much significance that you can even see the little elbows and little feet sometimes of intentionality poking through, rubbing the surface, if you will, the head moving down and around in gestation. The words are pregnant with meaning. And the meaning is that we, Nooga Radio, are owned by common people like me, just the regular journalist, independent David Tulis, an independent journalist, not beholden to old standards, not beholden to legacy media opinions, but given really to an idea that came out of the Reformation in Christendom, that is to say, the removal of the oppressive nature of the church at the time that had covered everything with a dead hand of form and had lost the spirit of the gospel. And in the Reformation breathed life into the church. The Holy Spirit breathed life into all of Christendom, where there had been the dead hand of Roman Catholic Orthodoxy. And the press emerged from that. The Chaucer's Canterbury Tales is an example of the press. It is an example of the press. Daniel Defoe's works, as many other travel writers at the time, Robinson Crusoe, that is a form of journalism as well. And we come from that, shining the light on things, writing about the world at large. Only Christendom would have such a thing as a press, right? And that comes because of an understanding that the press covers the truth. The truth is something external to any man. The truth is the law of God, is external to any man. And it has authority over all men, all groups of men, all nations, right? All cities, all nations, all states, all empires. The law of God is discovered in Christendom in the 1500s and 1600s, the revival of Christianity. And so the press comes from that. And my job as your editor, your host here at Nooga Radio, is to shine the light of truth and to take a position. Okay, I don't deny that I take positions in things that I write about, and yet I still make an effort to be fair, to accurately quote everybody I deal with, and not to put people in a bad light. In a way, it's very easy to do. It's very easy to put someone in a bad light whom you might disagree with. Okay, but what I try to do is to be fair with everyone who gives me the time to talk to me, to let me quote them about one matter or another. I'm not perfect. I do occasionally commit sins in journalism, but ordinarily my goal is to be fair and yet to make an argument. The standard of approach is the truth, and I would say is constitutional government. And we have a call. This is David Tulis, and caller, you're live on the air. What is on your mind?
Well, David, it's Mike Steele in Iran. I have a question for you, and I'm saying that now to prevent you from hanging up on me. Okay. David Tulis is probably one of the best writers you'll ever read, and he's very modest, and he'd probably be hanging up on me now, but he knows I have a question.
Okay.
So you have to read this story in Nooganomics.com regarding the termination of a police officer in Melvin. And what you're not going to read in this story is that David Tulis took up the gauntlet for Melvin, filed paperwork, went to the courthouse, picked him up, endless hours and hours and hours of work like David was doing with the Gaddies. So everyone needs to know that Tulis is modest. He's not going to say he's a great writer, and he's going to give credit to everyone but himself. But it's David Tulis that is responsible.
Okay, Mike, move along here. Go ahead. What's your question?
And this is what you call real, true investigative journalism. I consider myself to be a broadcast journalist, but not in the likes of David Tulis. Way outshines anything I could ever do because David was trained in that. So I just want everybody to know, because you're not going to talk about it, that we have the best investigative journalists probably in the entire state of Tennessee, if not the entire country. Because David will seek the truth. Well, and let it fall no matter what,
Well, let me make a comment, Mike. The leading journalists in Chattanooga are not me. I'll name them right now. There are two of them.
Listen. This.
Hold on.
I told you I was going to rant here.
Okay, go ahead. I've got two names I want to listen to here.
I'm giving you my opinion, so you can't hang up because I'm going to ask you a question. So, like I said, David gets very uncomfortable when you talk about him, so he's probably squirming right now. But and I said he'll follow the truth wherever it lies, which is kind of dangerous because that means if I do something wrong, even though I'm a good friend of his, I'd probably be in trouble. So in that, David, here's the question. First of all, thank you for doing such a fantastic job, not only for everybody in Chattanooga, but for the radio station and the reporting you do. And Nooga, listen, if you don't read Nooganomics.com every day, you're missing out. I'm just telling you that. I mean, you have to read this every single day, and you'll throw away your newspaper or use it to line your birdcage. But here's the question, David. What happened to journalism, whether you're conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat? It seems today when you turn on TV or read the newspaper, everyone has an agenda. And listen, I'm including myself. You're an objective journalist. I'm not. I will always put a spin on it, so I get my right-wing message out, if you will. And so why is journalism dead? In a sense, because the 60s and 70s journalism is gone, whether it be Fox or CNN. What do you think we need to do for the youth of America to train them in the David Tulis type journalism?
Well, I think, Mike, Confederate Mike, the question, I appreciate the question, and the answer is, what are the presuppositions of the writers? It always comes back to presuppositions. The presupposition is a philosophical worldview that is sort of undefended and often is hard to actually make a defense of it. But these are the ideas that you don't investigate, you don't pin down, you don't constantly scope out the facts underlying them. You just take them sort of as givens, right? And the conflict among journalists is what the presuppositions are. Now, your establishment press has presuppositions that what you would call, if you want to be gracious about it, you would call them progressive. That is to say, the state has answers for all problems. Man is best organized in the state. The state provides coherence to life. It provides meaning, its organization, its agencies, its program, its wars, its welfare systems all provide a holistic, total care for the human individual. And men find their meaning in being in the state. That is the progressive theory. You could call it the modern liberal theory. You, Mike, and I think it's fair to say we're classical liberals. We are truly free market. We're truly open to debate. We believe in the First Amendment. We believe in, arguments. And the other side doesn't.
A little progressive in that.
I'm sorry?
I said I may be a little progressive in your description because, we people that claim to be libertarians or Jeffersonian liberals maybe need to chin check ourselves.
Well, we're not. I would say, in one sense, Mike, you and I, and probably our listener today, the other listener on the show today, we're probably all classical liberals, and we probably are progressive. And here's why I think the word progressive is misclaimed and misapplied to the Andy Burkes and the Hillary Clintons. These are, of course, the same type of person. Hillary and Andy Burke, the mayor, they're very similar. And they're not really seeking progress. They are actually seeking to hold on to what we have. They are effectively conservatives. Your Democrats are very conservative people. They want things to remain as they are, as are most Republicans. They want the system to remain as it is on top of society, sucking away everything from society. And both sides, the Republican and the Democrat, ignore the elites and their corporate for-profit interests that have attached themselves to the state, and they've made reform impossible. There cannot be a reform anymore.
Yeah, but what's going to do at the university level? Because listen, you have a master's degree, so I've never been to college. I don't have a fix for that. You've been through the system. Where has it gone wrong? Where is it broken that majority of people no longer trust journalism or the media? That's dangerous.
Well, if they don't, Mike, if they don't trust journalism and the media, they're showing how smart they are. If they doubt the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and they doubt what they're reading, or they read everything with skepticism, going for quotes and things that are perhaps accurately quoted but misrepresented. Their suspicions shows that they are redeemable, and they are actually thinking.
Yeah, but David, where has the system of journalism failed in the institutions that we're not seeing objectivism for the most part in the broadcast media, whether it be radio?
You mean objectivity?
Right.
Objectivity.
What do we need to do to fix that? I mean, you've been through the system. You have a master's degree. You've taught in colleges.
Here, I think, Mike, that a journalism, a J school should teach young journalists all the essentials of Freedom of Information Act requests, of writing. There should be a lot of writing, understanding how governments work. All the elites in the elite schools, they learn why every institution exists and where it came from. That's what the elites learn. Public school children and university students generally do not. Unless you're an elite person at an elite university, you don't know why things are the way they are. But the things are as they are because they have to be. They're made that way. All the dysfunction that we see, that's not unintentional. That's all by design, whether it's the adoption, child kidnapping industry, the abortion industry, welfareism, war machine manufacturing. These are all things that are there by design, by the people who created the system. It's not intended to benefit the listener or his family at all. And so I think what we need to have are journalism schools, Mike, that teach why things are the way they are, and show the techniques of investigating and pursuing the truth. And the truth, of course, is based on what you presuppose the truth to be. And there also is the main problem. It's not that there's lack of skill coming out of Columbia Journalism School or the J School in Bowling Green, Kentucky, University of Kentucky. It's not that there's a lack of technique, it's a lack of ideas. And the presupposition is that we have to constantly defend the state. Very few journalists come through the system of the university, Mike, assuming that the system is broken and in evil, right? No one assumes that. They all think it's good, and we have to defend it. We just have to make sure that we expose it in the right way to allow Congress and legislatures to make tinkering adjustments. That's all, or to have a new program. That's the tenor and the purpose of the modern press, to enhance the state.
When did you have your epiphany? How did you break away? Something happened that you had an epiphany that you broke away.
I would say,
in journalism. How did that happen?
I think.
And what do you recommend parents do to inject that into their children that are interested in the subject?
Well, you mean journalism as a topic, as a calling,
perhaps? Whether it's broadcast journalism, whether it's even becoming a lawyer, anything that deals with having absolute truth. And I hate to use that term, but from what we perceive, what epiphany occurred in your life? Listen, you went through the government schools, as did I.
I did, all the way through.
What happened in your life to break away from that system?
Well, I think it's
just truth.
Well, that's a great question, and I don't mind exposing the reason, pulling back the carapace, if you will, of the turtleish look at his little organs underneath. My epiphany is really just being a better Christian, and in discovering as I went along as a Christian that there is a law of God, and that was a big discovery of me as a young man in the 20s. I was living in Switzerland at the time, and I met a reformer, a Protestant reformer named Jean-Marc Berthoud. And as I was learning French, he was feeding me many good books, such as, for example, Francis Schaeffer, is where every reforming and every reconstructing Christian should start reading at Francis Schaeffer, and then more maturingly, R.J. Rushdoony, Gary North, and other writers have really explored how God interacts with mankind through his law, and the law being a summary of his requirements for man and also a reflection of his own character. So my epiphany, if you will, my insight came in slowly reforming my ideas, making them more godly, and seeing that God is very practical, and seeing also getting beyond an American problem, you might say, American presupposition, and that is, Mike, that God is interested only in private salvation and private virtue. He's not. He's interested in that, but he's interested also in public virtue, in his law being reflected in the statutes of a country, so that the unborn are protected, so that parents' authority is fully respected, that no one can be arrested without witnesses or probable cause, as we would say, that there is not a standing military. The fact that we have a standing military shows that our country, as a government, as a people through the representatives and their executives, that they reject God, they reject his protection. They have to constantly have total surveillance, total standing military. These, of course, are following another deity in their operation. So journalism, in my mind, should expose this. And one goal I have, Mike, is to encourage people who are Christians to say, there is more to the gospel than I realized. It's not just about me and my salvation and my being faithful to God and not coveting other men's wives and not getting drunk. That's personal piety, and that's important. But the gospel really goes well beyond that. And here, in this Hanson Melvin case, there are gospel truths on display, and violations, I would say, of God's law in the abuse of this innocent common person. So, Mike, you're what would you say to that?
I would say Chattanooga is privileged to have you here, number one. And number two, please go to Nooganomics.com. You've got to do that as your daily routine. And David, thank you, buddy. We appreciate you very much.
We've been talking with Mike Steele. Thanks very much for calling, Mike. And we've been saying things about me that I think that are excessive and maybe unnecessary. But I would say that if Hanson Melvin has found his some relief in the firing of the officer, that's really his doing. And all I did as journalist and writer was to encourage him to say, look, here's what the situation is. Okay, as I understand it, here's what I think you need to do. Here are your rights. And a lot of what we do here at Nooga Radio is in telling people what their rights are, just telling them how to exercise their rights, telling them to encouraging them to just stand on their rights. Now, we have another case that I'm trying to find out about, where a judge here in Howard County has made statements against a man who's a homeless man, happens to be a minority, who's now being charged with disorderly conduct and threatening a judge and maybe resisting arrest. And I've got his address, I've got his mugshot, I've collected the information about him. And an eyewitness to his arrest says it was an abusive arrest, using the word MF. No officer should ever use the word MF. MF. And I'm going to ask Chief Fletcher about that. Chief Fletcher, if you are tuning in for a minute here, I would say that no officer should ever use foul language, not even the word damn. That word damn is reserved for theological purposes only, okay? And I tell my children, look, we can say damn a lot here, and we even talk about damning when we read the scriptures together. Damning is a function of God. God damns people, right? He damns nations. Damn is to condemn. And God, of course, when there's repentance, he undamns people. He lifts the damnation. He lifts his fury. He removes his anger from individual men who repent, nations that repent. And so damning is, you reason you can't use damn carelessly is because it's something that God does. And so you're taking to yourself something, an attribute of God, and using it loosely and carelessly. So no officer should even use the word damn because God alone damns. No man can damn. And so when you say damn you or damn Yankees, as sometimes I have actually said the word damn Yankees, I'm violating the third commandment, prohibiting the abuse of God's name, right? Using his name in vain. That when you use damn carelessly, you're using God's name in vain because it's under that provision of the commandments, right? Everything in human existence is covered by a commandment or other. And the abuse of God's name is under the third commandment, thou shalt not use the Lord's name in vain. So using the word damn in an arrest of a suspect violates God's law and should violate department policy. The Department of Police in Chattanooga should not allow the use of the word damn at all, nor more vehement and ugly terms such as MF. No woman sitting in her car should hear the word MF with her children there through the open window. Hear the officer seize a man and call him MF and tell him over and over again to stop resisting arrest. That can't be done. That just can't be. It cannot be. And the mayor, Andy Burke, is responsible for that, right? The mayor, Andy Burke, in Chattanooga, or Mayor Dave Crockett. If Crockett's elected finally after the runoff, Mayor Crockett will be responsible for that. No chief of police should ever use a word like that. And he should make it a strict policy that the name of the Lord is revered, even if you're a pagan officer, right? Even if you're the gay officer who rejects God, right? You can't say damn in public and worse terms than that. I'd say damn is probably worse than MF, but that's just my perspective. This is David Tulis. I do thank you for giving me a couple minutes of your time. Chief Fred Fletcher has done the right thing, and Andy Burke gets credit today. Gets credit for the firing of an officer who abused Hanson Melvin. And we are discussing the role of journalism in making these kinds of things happen by exposing them to public notice, to your notice. This is David Tulis.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
On this cruise ship, your favorite pool makes its own way. The sun is getting low. You're not too bad yourself. Smart guy. Took advice and deals from Expedia in Chattanooga. Great food, great fellow passengers, great friends, terrific prices, free upgrades. Use the card with the onboard credit for a cold one. Maybe use it in a game room. Expedia Rail, Expedia Flights, Expedia Cards. Maybe red tie for dinner. Expedia Cruise Ship Centers on Gun Barrel near Best Buy. 551-3770.
There's a reason why Alliance Physical Therapy is a choice of professionals and those who care about first-class, top-notch service and treatment. Because at Alliance Physical Therapy of Chattanooga, we don't just treat the symptoms in your body. Whether you're suffering from stiffness, muscle spasms, back pain, chronic headaches every day, stress of life demanding more and more of you, Alliance Physical Therapy takes a holistic approach to healing mind, body, and soul. Alliance Physical Therapy, with a location near you and 9 others in the Chattanooga area. If you don't have a doctor or if your physician's plan for chronic pain is not working, Alliance Physical Therapy will help. Visit Alliance Physical Therapy on the web at nopainpt.com. That's nopainpt.com. Alliance Physical Therapy.
Are you shovel ready? Ready to build a house, but you're not a builder? Are you shovel ready? Michael's Homes is ready to bulldoze its way to a solution for you. You have ideas on what you want in a house, but you're looking for someone to bring your ideas into a plan and turn your plan into a house. Michael's Homes, custom builder. Michael's Homes has lots available at a new subdivision. River Bay Estates, that's Harrison. Maybe River Watch in Saudi Daisy. Choices galore, lots, houses, beautiful homes all over Chattanooga. The Canyons, Hickson. Crystal Brook, Appleton. Drive in. Take a look. Consult with us. We build on your lot or ours. Homes-Chattanooga.com.
Call 423-413-9929. And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. It's like preventative maintenance. You're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family, but it happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. Bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis has the cash when you sell gold, silver, diamonds, rings, and jewelry. Sell Rick your precious metals today and lock in your price. Hey, Rick Davis will trade your cash for shiny, brilliant, and heavy gold. Gold cheaper now by $100 an ounce. Join the Rick Davis Silver Bonanza too. Price is so low, the Lone Ranger is bound to gallop in, Kimosabe. Hey, silver, away! The markets are changing, so buy now. Cash, 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 and more cash for your silver and gold, gold, gold. Rick Davis, 5301 Brainerd Road. That's 5301 Brainerd Road. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Oh, and cash, cash, cash. You know where it is. Hey, silver, away!
McCune Williams and Ashley PLLC offers a full array of legal services to meet the needs of businesses and individuals. Our attorneys represent diverse backgrounds, interests, and legal emphasis, but we share one common goal: providing the highest quality legal services to our clients through the combination of our talents, experience, and expertise. In each case, we strive to tailor those services to meet each client's specific circumstances: business law, business organization, civil litigation, commercial litigation, conservatorship and guardian law, bankruptcy law, just to name a few. With over 188 years of combined experience, McCune Williams Ashley PLLC is here to help you and your business succeed. MWALawfirm.com. That's MWALawfirm.com. Call 423-756-6400. That's 423-756-6400.
Any way that you kill somebody when they're innocent and defenseless is detestable.
My biological mother was 7.5 months pregnant when she had a saline abortion, which was meant to burn me both inside and out. And the doctors have also said that I should be blind and all of these horrendous things. Praise the Lord, the abortionist was not on duty the moment that I came into the world. Praise the Lord, the abortionist was not on duty the moment that I came into the world. I was actually delivered in an abortion clinic. Had he been there at the time, he could have ended my life with strangulation, suffocation, or leaving me there to die. But a nurse called an ambulance and had me transferred to a hospital. Had he been there at the time, he could have ended my life with strangulation, suffocation, or leaving me there to die. So then I was placed in the incubator, weighing 2 pounds, and they said I would die. And yet I just kept on living.
Daniel Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Hear it live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Check it out live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Get back there, you dang Yankee! Great horny toads, I'm up north. Gotta burn my boots, they touch Yankee soil. Lay down your arms and step forward, Yankee!
What's the handful, Schmansel?
My orders from General Lee is to hold the Macy-Dixie line, and no Yankees are crossing it. You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Frank Centopani. President Trump has said it before, and he said it again a short time ago.
We have to have a safe country. We have to let people come in that are going to love the country.
As the president was speaking on MSNBC, Homeland Security officials were explaining a new plan to crack down on illegal immigrants. It calls for the hiring of thousands of Immigration and Border Patrol agents and would make it easier to deport people in the country illegally. CBS News correspondent Major Guerra.
Any people without proper legal documentation or unaccompanied minors who arrive on the southern border, they're going to be dealt with in a way that is far different than the Obama administration. They will be deported more rapidly. They will be put into detention facilities.
ACLU lawyer Lee Gellert says the plan would violate fundamental fairness.
People are just going to be picked up and swept away without a hearing. There are going to be so many mistakes that are made with that kind of system.
The Supreme Court is set to hear a case involving the border agent who shot and killed a Mexican teenager on Mexican soil. CBS News senior legal analyst Andrew Cohen.
Any immigration case now before the court takes on additional significance with Donald Trump in the White House. But this is not a case about immigration or deportation or visas. It's a case where an American cop shot a Mexican child without justification and now is being sued over it.
Overseas, the bodies of more than 70 African migrants who drowned trying to reach Europe have washed ashore in western Libya. President Trump has picked a well-regarded military man to replace fired National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. CBS News correspondent Cammie McCormick has that.
Army Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster will remain on active military duty while leading the council. He joins two retired generals already in President Trump's inner circle, Defense Secretary James Mattis and Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly. He has been critical of Russia's interference in Ukraine, and he's accused Moscow of trying to collapse post-Cold War security and political order in Europe.
Chemicals used to keep roads safe in the wintertime could be hazardous to your car's health. CBS's Vicki Barker has that.
Hard on your car, hard on your wallet. The AAA says rust damage caused by de-icing chemicals is costing U.S. motorists $3 billion a year. And the switch from rock salt to liquid de-icers in many communities has made things worse because the liquid can get into car components, causing them to fail. The AAA says you should pull over and call a tow truck if your brake or other warning lights come on, if your brakes start feeling spongy, or if you smell gas or other fumes. Vicki Barker, CBS News.
4 Americans on a golfing vacation in Australia were killed when a twin-engine plane crashed in flames at a shopping mall in the city of Melbourne. The Australian pilot also died.
I just seen a blue flash come down there, and then all of a sudden it hit the spotlight and just erupted into a huge fireball.
No one on the ground was hurt. In early trading on Wall Street, the averages are higher across the board. The Dow Industrials are ahead 84 points. This is CBS News.
A few years ago, my wife and I went shopping for amazing quality luxury bedding we could actually afford. And what did we find? Nothing. Hi, I'm Scott Tannen. Missy and I started Boll & Branch because we want you to be able to afford the best bedding in the world. By cutting out the middlemen and only selling online at bollandbranch.com, our award-winning sheets cost less than half of designer brands and are twice the quality. Every set is crafted from 100% organic cotton. They get softer and softer over time. That's why we have thousands of 5-star reviews, and even 3 U.S. presidents have Boll & Branch sheets. There's no risk. Try them for 30 nights. If you don't love them, send them back for a full refund. Go to bollandbranch.com today for $50 off your first set of sheets, plus free shipping when you use promo code SLEEP. That's $50 off, plus free shipping right now at bollandbranch.com. Promo code SLEEP. bollandbranch.com, spelled B-O-L-L, and branch.com. Promo code SLEEP.
Johns Hopkins scientists have created a model that could help in the development of a vaccine to treat the Zika virus. CBS's Allison Keyes has the story.
Microbiologist Sabra Klein says researchers used mice with complete immune systems because
pregnant women have an intact immune system.
And they found the mouse pups had
inflammation in the brain.
And the outer layer of the brain was thinner when pups born from a Zika-infected mother. But because this model is more similar to how the virus acts in humans, it can be used to
test candidate vaccines
and drugs that aren't quite ready to be tested in humans. Allison Keyes, CBS News, Washington.
Malaysian officials say they still don't know exactly what killed Kim Jong-nam, the estranged and exiled half-brother of North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-nam died last week after he was apparently poisoned in the terminal at the airport in Kuala Lumpur. Frank Sedifani, CBS.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Expect more clouds, but mainly dry weather for your Tuesday. Back into the upper 60s. Could see a late shower tonight. A few scattered showers will pass on through. Lows into the lower to middle 50s. For Wednesday, not bad. Could see a quick passing shower. Back into the upper 60s, lower 70s Thursday. With quality parts and more than 90 years of experience, Napa Auto Parts can help you keep just about anything on the road. So stop by your local Napa Auto Parts store and keep it running longer and stronger with Napa know-how. And I'm Orange 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Moore. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Truex Jr. is off the pace and he is headed to the pit lane. There'll be the power around the outside. Michael McDowell pops the right front tire. Here's Martin Truex to the bottom. Please walk him off me. Roach takes Elliott went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. Fox News Talk 1240, the voice of NASCAR. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's David Tulis.
At the mayor debate yesterday, arguments over numbers. What are the numbers? There were some numbers disputed. There were some numbers that were new yesterday, new numbers that had not been heard before. And there were also some new things that were said, other things that we have heard already enunciated in the campaign for mayor. And who is the best candidate? People want to ask me who David Tulis do you support for mayor? I've usually stood above these kinds of questions, but I'm not standing above the question today, and not standing aloof, you might say, of this commonality in the press to endorse one candidate or another. The conservative page of the Chattanooga Times Free Press, run by Clint Cooper, endorsed the liberal Democrat. This is the so-called conservative page, right on the right side of the two-headed editorial pages of that newspaper. He endorsed Andy Burke, the liberal Democrat, and among the comments he made, not favoring the Christian conservative Tea Party oriented candidate Larry Groen, not favoring Andy Burke, not favoring, rather, Dave Crockett, the environmentalist, southern gentleman and global traveler. He didn't support him either. He supported rather Andy Burke. Of course, the left-hand side of the page, run by Pam Sohn, the traditional statist progressive, was for the status quo Andy Burke, whom I have identified, and I think I've put my finger on Mr. Burke in an analysis that you'll read only at Nooganomics.com. You might say the moral analysis, the Jewish analysis, even of his theory, and it comes from Karl Marx. Marx was an anti-Semite Jew who devised what we call Marxism, which is the you might say the theoretical or theological basis, even a political basis of communist statism. The saying from Marx that Marx didn't originate, but which he made popular in the 1840s, is from something like this: from each according to his means, and to each according to his need. Now that is a nostrum which arises in Israelite culture, and it was copied over into Jewish culture after the destruction of Israel. And you have these people who are Jews. Now the Jews came from the Empire of Khazaria in the 9th century, according to one history. The Jews elsewhere around the world were dissipated. That's the kind of minority argument. The majority report on the Jews today being actual descendants from the Israelites. That's from Paul Johnson and his History of the Jews, and other writers like him, right? That's more conventional understanding of where Jews come from. But anyway, these people who claim to worship Yahweh of the Old Testament, they have in their bosom Andy Burke and his family. And Burke espouses the Marxist idiom, if you will, the Marxist theory that says from each according to his means and to each according to his needs. That is a system that works. It really does work in oppressed Jewish enclaves around the world. That always is what functioned well. You were loyal to your own people. If you were Jewish, you were loyal to fellow Jews. You did anything for them. If you were rich, you gave liberally to refugees. You supported business. You looked out for your own people. You were highly, highly sectarian. You were very very narrow in the parties you favored. They were always your own people, right? Whether from Khazaria, as one theory says, or from the seed of Abraham and Isaac, as the more conventional treatment would have it. It does work, but does it work in the state? Does that theory work in the modern state, which is a war machine? The modern state the purpose of it is warfare. And I've got Hanson Melvin here on the phone. Hang on just a second. He's calling the wrong line, but let's see if I can get him on speaker for you. Hanson, are you there?
David, yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, listen. This is Dr. Herndon. Listen, Dr. Herndon, could you call me back on my other number? Can I give you my studio number?
Yeah, you tell me what that is.
Okay, let me. We got Dr. Herndon on my cell phone here. Okay, my studio number, if you want to give me a call, and I'd like to get you on the air, is 423-800-8949. That's 423-800-8949. And we'd love to get you on the program, Dr. Herndon. Okay, great. I'll let you go. We have that was a propitious call from San Diego. Dr. Marvin Herndon is going to give maybe a report today of what we're seeing in the sky overhead. He is we'll find out what Dr. Herndon has to say. A very important call. I'm glad to have received it. So in the debate last night, which we're going to talk about today, there was Andy Burke defending his incumbency, and I think the call is coming in here. This is David Tulis.
Hi, Marvin Herndon.
Hi, Dr. Herndon. Thanks for calling. Well, I wanted to ask you if you wouldn't mind talking with my listener and me here today about some of your discoveries regarding coal fly ash. We are having, the reason I called this morning to check up on you, Dr. Herndon, is we are enjoying another brisk day outside of wonderful X's in the sky. You might call them white tattoos on a blue sky, and it's becoming muzzy and hazy outside, as it did yesterday as well. We had quite a bit of treatment over Chattanooga. And
I would call them something else.
What would you call them?
Call them poisoning your skies and poisoning the people who live under the skies, and the animals, and the soil, and the plants.
Well, Dr. Herndon, you're not just an ordinary Joe saying that, a man with an opinion who posts a rant on Facebook about chemtrailing and so on, whatever they call it. You're a scientist. You're a geoscientist. And you have made an important discovery, by my estimation, in covering skystrapping now for almost 3 years. I'd say you made a major break in the story. I think was it late 2015 or early 2016 with your discovery of what these jets are depositing over the skies. It's not of Hamilton County and many other places. It's not water vapor, is it?
No, it's not. The behavior of water vapor and so-called contrails is a whole lot different. And there's now 4 independent lines of evidence that indicate that this material that's being sprayed is coal fly ash. Coal fly ash is the light ash from burning coal that used to go up the smokestacks but was considered too toxic to expose people to, and so now it is trapped. So they trap it and then they spray it in mass over the air we breathe.
Now, originally, coal fly ash was, as you say, trapped by wet scrubbers and other systems in the boilers and just outside the boilers of utility steam plants like TVAs, which we have here in Tennessee in a large area involving 7 states. The coal burns in the furnace, and there are different kinds of ash. There's a heavy ash, and then the lightest ash is the one that you have identified as the material. Talk a little bit about how this ash is produced, what it contains, what it's like, what its qualities. And it is a waste product, and it's stored in wet ponds. Why is it stored in wet ponds all around the country?
Well, it's stored in wet ponds because it's to keep it from in-lined ponds that are lined with plastic liners, so it doesn't get into the water supply. Let me describe. When coal is burned, the heavy ash settles, and the very fine particles called fly ash used to go up the smokestack. Now, coal, when it forms, contains a lot of matter besides just carbon, and that is the stuff that is in the ash. And it contains numerous toxic heavy metals. And the portion that goes up into the smokestacks is where most of the heavy metals are concentrated. These heavy metals contain mercury. They contain hexavalent chromium, well, all chromium, but hexavalent chromium, causes lung cancer. They contain radioactive elements and their radioactive daughter products. They contain thallium. They contain just all manner of toxic elements. And so what is required in Western nations is that they use electrostatic precipitators to trap those. And it had been previously that was stored in ponds, although not all of it was stored in ponds. Some of this material, the utilities obviously sell to the people who are contracted to do the aerial spraying. This is the secret part of the operation. And why coal fly ash? Well, it's an ideal material to spray to do what these people wanted to do. Ideal, except that it is toxic, badly toxic to virtually all of God's creatures, especially humans. And what coal fly ash does when it's sprayed into the air where clouds form, the fine particles keep the little droplets of water from being able to get together and make droplets that are big enough, heavy enough to fall to earth. So number one, it retards rainfall. And it will continue to retard rainfall until the clouds become so swollen that they'll have downpours, torrential downpours, and storms. It not only retards the fall of rain, but it heats the atmosphere. It also blocks Earth's heat from leaving the surface, just like natural clouds do. All of these things. Well, one other thing, the coal fly ash is dark in color, typically a dark gray. And so when it lands anywhere, on snow, ice, dirt, whatever, it absorbs sunlight. So in other words, for a variety of reasons, it causes global warming. Now, you have to ask yourself, what is it that government leaders were told that gagged them, that allowed them to do what they're doing without allowing the public health departments to be concerned? I suspect this is all part of the overall UN plan to tell people that the carbon dioxide that we produce, including the carbon dioxide we breathe out, is causing global warming that's threatening our planet, and we have to do something. That's probably the storyline that people bought into. And they probably told the government officials that, well, people can't be trusted to allow this to happen, so we'll have to do it secretly. And so this is why it's a secret program that no one can talk about. Well, that you could fertilize a garden with that. What this spraying does is it causes global warming. It causes melting of the Arctic. Now, the UN would probably love that because then they can blame it on the CO2 that we all breathe out. And what reparations, money, carbon credits, regulations, UN enforcers, whatever. This is the biggest scam that has ever been perpetrated on the people of planet Earth. Now, I guess, David, you got my recent publication about the material that was dropped from an aircraft?
No, tell me about it, please. What does the listener need to know?
Well, I'll make sure you get a copy. This was recently published a year ago, on or about Valentine's Day a year ago. There was a news item in the paper about some ashy, oily, black stuff that was spread around 7 properties and cars in Michigan, in Harrison Township, Michigan. And this was, of course, a great mystery. Well, I had the suspicion that this was some geoengineering activity. And so I made contact with one of the residents whose property was sprinkled with the stuff and got samples. I also made contact with the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, who took their own samples. And I encouraged them to make some measurements that they hadn't made, and I made measurements. And I just recently published this paper. And what this appears to be is a synthetic cryoconite. Now, that's a strange sounding word, but in the Arctic and in the Antarctic on glaciers, there are holes found in glaciers, and at the bottom of holes are some debris material that are dark in color. And these were thought to be natural, and in some cases they may be. But what is being sprayed has the characteristics of artificial cryoconite. It's made of plant material, primarily plant material, that's mixed with coal fly ash to give it the dark color, mixed with some salt, and probably held together with some oil. I was unable to measure the oil because I got the samples too late. But this is a stuff that has every indication of being sprinkled by aircraft onto the surface, where it will absorb heat from sunlight and melt its way into glacial ice. This is a very real case of a smoking gun. This is evidence that there is a deliberate attempt to melt glacial ice.
Are you supposing that this material is laid in a mass way upon glaciers or icebergs, ice shelves in northern, high northern, or southern regions, Dr. Herndon?
I don't know exactly where it was laid, except that somebody on one of the aircraft momentarily turned it on, just for a moment, and it sprinkled it all over 7 pieces of property in Michigan.
So it was an accidental discharge.
It was an accident, but it's a smoking gun. I mean, this has the characteristics. You need to look at that material I sent you. Let me see if I have that on my website. Just a second.
Now, the website is what is the name of the website again, Dr. Herndon?
Nuclearplanet.com.
Nuclearplanet.com. This is David Tulis. We're talking with Dr. J. Marvin Herndon, who's a geophysicist and an independent scientist. He's kind of an old school scientist, and I think he's told me that he does not take federal money, and so therefore he's not been bought off by by alliances and allegiances that creates in our day vast quantities of junk science, vast quantities of politically correct science that either hide true things or present false things as true, and so mislead the taxpayers, mislead the public, and really give science a greatly disoriented flavor. And we're talking with J. Marvin Herndon. We have some important announcements I want you to pay attention to here. We are at Nooga Radio. This is David Tulis. We'll be getting back in just a minute with Dr. Marvin Herndon of San Diego. You can find out more about him at the website here in Chattanooga area, and really a global website for the man who matters, whether he's in China or in Southeast Tennessee. And that is Nooganomics.com, where we explore this program of geoengineering extensively, viewing it as not a fluke, not a mistake, but crediting the best people in our country, those in the government, of course, is being able to drop things from planes, not just bombs and bullets and napalm and rockets. They can drop substances of other kinds. Coal fly ash today over Hamilton County, coal fly ash today and yesterday.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
April 40 Radio News, Russell Stroud reporting. Eastridge police say that after an argument, a man was shot on Burns Avenue at about 1 a.m. Officers found 37-year-old male pierced by a bullet in the abdomen. Investigators say that the gunman escaped in a Nissan Frontier-style pickup with a female about the same age as himself. Witnesses say that the altercation started over that woman. David Campbell, a Chattanooga police officer, has been fired after a disciplinary hearing for harassment, false arrest, and vehicle use policy violation. He's the arresting officer in the Hanson Melvin case covered on Nooganomics.com, in which Officer Campbell's possible lying on a police report is covered. A home on Signal Mountain burst into flames. The duplex is a complete loss. Firefighters say that there were no injuries. Damage is estimated to be about $400,000. A strange outbreak of graffiti in Ottawa is causing confusion among neighbors. They say racial slurs were spray painted in orange spray paint right next to an elementary school. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Nooga Radio News. Be sure to like us on Facebook, the exclusive home of NASCAR.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Final expenses, funeral costs, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate costs, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Great discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today, 423-855-8484.
$25 goes by quickly these days, and 25 cents still just a quarter. 25 is the years of experience Schultz & Associates puts behind filing your tax return. Quickly, correctly, and electronically. Schultz & Associates.
Hi, I'm Chip Chapman with this question. Are you concerned about getting a timely refund this year? There is a solution. Ask Schultz & Associates about Refund Advantage. It's a no-interest loan that allows you to get your tax refund quickly, but some tax refund product fees do apply, so make sure and understand the details. You can receive your refund quickly via check or prepaid credit card. Ask about Refund Advantage when you visit Schultz & Associates, 6310 Bonnie Oaks Drive, or call 899-1130. Schultz & Associates.
Baseball sluggers often wear the number 25, or 25 is a full MLB roster. Just happens 25 is also the years of experience Schultz & Associates puts behind filing your tax return quickly, correctly, and electronically. Schultz & Associates, 899-1130.
Oh, he's got bad breath. And once he slobbered. But your dog's teeth are important for his health. The canine dentist at Wolf Keeper has an offer. Listen, ultrasonic cleaning, polishing, x-rays, only $135. Ordinarily, you pay $175. For a few days, pay only $135. And get $150 in freebies as a thank you. Grooming, boarding at the inn at Wolf Keeper. Act this week. Use anytime this year. Floss and rinse now. 344-1913. WolfKeeper.com. Your marriage is over. You've been abandoned, betrayed. You're angry, shattered, and heartbroken. Don't go it alone. When you are facing divorce, you need an experienced advocate to help protect your rights in the future. And you need it from a man with a sympathetic heart, but a hard nose. Attorney Clay Whitaker will fight for you in this most confusing and bitter time in your life. Clay Whitaker, 756-6400.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Expect more clouds, but mainly dry weather for your Tuesday. Back into the upper 60s. Could see a late shower tonight. A few scattered showers will pass on through, lows into the lower to middle 50s. For Wednesday, not bad. Could see a quick passing shower. Back into the upper 60s, lower 70s Thursday. With quality parts and more than 90 years of experience, Napa Auto Parts can help you keep just about anything on the road. So stop by your local Napa Auto Parts store and keep it running longer and stronger with Napa know-how. And I'm Swarm Gene 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Dr. J. Marvin Herndon, in his 70s, runs TransDigm Corporation in San Diego. He's a crusty old scientist. He's an old guard scientist. He is not. He does not take fools lightly, and has been under a tremendous attack for his discoveries. These are discoveries that are against the grain. They are outside of the normal operating paradigm of pro-government scientists. And he is a heretic, effectively. But no matter, he doesn't take federal money, and so he is not likely to have want at his table and cupboard on account of his discovery and publication of them. Most recently, he's put out a paper that describes a remarkable accident that occurred over a township in Michigan, Harrison Township, a year ago. And this was a discharge of some material from a overpassing flight, an airplane, and it affected property, trucks, vehicles, houses, land, driveways, roads in this township. And when he heard about this, he said, "What is going on here? What came out of that airplane?" Because you, my listener, and I know that airplanes today do more than just emit missiles, bombs, and cannon bullets with nuclear dust, uranium depleted rounds, as we are hearing about, which, by the way, make human monsters in Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria. They've been used there as well. We know that airplanes do more than just fire munitions. They drop other things which may or may not be healthy for you, my listener. It's being done today, though perhaps of a different material than what happened in that township. But Dr. Herndon is a scientist who came to discover the problem of geoengineering about the same time I did, I think. About 3 years ago, I wrote my first essay at Nooganomics about it and began discussing the problem here at Nooga Radio. We are Nooga Radio, the station for the man who matters. This is David Tulis, your host, the editor of the website, The Man Who Matters, Nooganomics.com. Dr. Herndon, tell my listener now, he's just joining us, what material is that fell out of a plane or dripped out of a nozzle on a plane flying over Michigan? Where was it possibly headed? What was this material? And what is the source material of possibly what's being sprayed over Chattanooga today?
Well, this plane probably likely came from Selfridge Air National Guard Base in Michigan, and when the commander of that base was interviewed on television for when this thing happened, he made the statement that this did not come from a military plane. Well, I thought that was a little bit suspicious because he didn't mention other possible flights from that base, such as government agency planes or government contractor planes. And so I inquired. I sent him an email on his website, on the website for that base. They encourage responses from people and provide an email address. And I sent him an email and asked him very specifically whether I told him I thought that was a very limited response that he made, and asked him whether it came from any government agency or government contractor planes. He never responded, which is a good indication that yes, it came from that base, and yes, it came from one of those two types of planes, and he's not going to say anything about it. Well, this is obviously part of a deliberate operation to melt snow and ice. It has the characteristics, it's an artificial mixture of processed plant material, coal fly ash, and salt that's probably held together with some oil. And it has the characteristics, the look of the material that is found naturally that forms on top of glaciers, and the dark color melts into them. So this is a good evidence that that this is a deliberate operation to melt ice and snow. And you have to realize that a great deal of money was spent in developing this synthetic cryoconite material and developing the technology so that the plane could spread that out, little pieces spread out over an area as it flew. So this is a part, I have no doubt, of a much larger operation. And I can see no other purpose in it except to melt glacial ice and to enhance global warming. Now, this is totally consistent with the spraying of toxic coal fly ash into the air we breathe, because it as well warming, and as well as poisoning people, disrupting our planet's natural cycles, causing death to plants and animals, and all sorts of chaos. So this is part of something that we as free American citizens should have no part in. No one has the right to poison the air we breathe, and no one has the right to hide that from the public. Now, there is a massive, well, not a massive, and so there's a concerted group of people who deliberately go after my publications, attack the editors with lies and misrepresentations, and in 2 instances were successful in having the papers retracted without my ever being allowed to respond to their criticisms. You know, there's something very bad happening here. Now, I am optimistic that with the new administration in Washington, some changes will be made. Did you ever read Ray Bradbury's story, or maybe see the movie, called Fahrenheit 451?
Yes, I did as a senior in high school, but remind my listeners about it.
Okay, this is a story, a futuristic story, where fire departments had evolved, or maybe devolved, from no longer putting out fires, but burning books. Well, this is exactly what is happening with the Environmental Protection Agency. It has lost the ability and its purpose in protecting the environment to poisoning the environment. this is all part of a massive program that has taken place during the previous administration, and it's not just in this country; it is international, which makes you suspect that the UN is deeply involved in this. Now, it's almost unbelievable that government leaders could blindly accept what they're told to do without question. It's almost as if some alien presence were acting. But of course, if you made a science fiction movie about an alien presence causing it, you couldn't sell the movie because no one would believe it was even possible. But it's possible that some entity on Earth, be it United Nations or whatever, is somehow managed to convince governments that we need to do this and we can't tell people what we're doing. And they were probably told it's harmless, but it is not harmless. Coal fly ash is a very fine particles. Now, we know from environmental studies that fine pollution particles cause a great deal of problems. I mean, they can cause one of the real concerns are the pulmonary problems, what it does to your breathing. And these particles go deep into the lungs, where they get trapped for long periods of time, where the carcinogens like hexavalent chromium, radioactive elements, can lead ultimately to lung cancer. I mean, they cause a host of problems, including reduced male fertility. And there's increasing evidence now that there's neurological problems, including premature dementia is one of the consequences. I mean, this stuff is a toxic nightmare. And people have been so accustomed to just believing what the news media tell them. Your station accepted. The mainstream media.
Yes.
That they do not question. But the mainstream media is in the tank. They do not tell the truth, especially about this. And well, I think people pretty much know they don't tell the truth about a lot of things now. But this is what people need to wake up, look up in the sky.
Well, this is David Tulis. We're talking with Dr. J. Marvin Herndon. You can find out more about him at Nooganomics.com. Also, his own website, which is nuclearplanet.com, and he very modestly posts new and important essays, such as one that has just came out just a couple weeks, just about 15 days ago or so ago, and it's the title is "Evidence of an International Effort to Melt Glaciers and Hasten Global Warming." And global warming, let's just come back away from the theory that you're suggesting emerges from this accidental drip in that Michigan county of this black material, this oily black material that, if laid across a glacier or a snowpack or a field of snow, would tend to melt the snow because it makes it warmer, because the black absorbs sunlight. That suggests this problem, this, you might say, this federal benefit, if you will, of geoengineering, what I call sky striping. How can my listener connect with this latest paper? It seems, Dr. Herndon, you're making a stretch here, saying, well, the establishment is trying to heat up the planet. Can we make that conclusion based on things nearer to home? Maybe just sky striping over Chattanooga today. How is sky striping, which we've had numerous times already this month, how is that making the planet warmer when you think theoretically dimming the sun in that way by these artificial cloud banks makes the planet cooler? Why do you think that somehow the planet's getting warmed deliberately by artificial cloud cover?
Well, some of the sunlight may be reflected, but some is absorbed by those particles. And those particles are in constant collision with the molecules of the air that extract that heat that was put in by the sunlight. It extracts it and puts it into the air. That's one way that it warms the air.
We're talking about the white coal fly ash stripes that we see and cloud banks that we see over Chattanooga and Hamilton County. Is that what you're talking about?
Right. That's what we're talking about. Now, it only seems white because they're very, very fine particles, and they're not really put. They're spread out. You don't. But if I've seen days when we start. Well, in San Diego, in old times, pre-spray days, we rarely had clouds. I mean, sure, if there was a storm coming, but we could have many days when there were no clouds in the sky. The sky was perfectly blue. I don't know whether you used to watch cowboy movies back in the early 50s, but I was amazed living on the East Coast to see the sky perfectly blue, no clouds. Well, this was the way it is sometimes in San Diego. And then the spraying starts. And I've seen over the course of a day where there are no natural clouds, but the spraying becomes so intense as to cause it to be artificially overcast and even appearing to be brown in color. That's as you're getting thicker material. So you're beginning to see the real color of the coal fly ash. So this is this acts like normal clouds in the sense that it prevents heat from leaving the earth, but it also retards the fall of rain. It heats the atmosphere, and it mixes with the air we breathe, which means we inhale it, or maybe the fine particles just go right through our eyes or our skin.
And that's because they're so fine. They're how many microns across? They're tiny enough just to slip between cells. If a speck lands on my listener's cheek, you're saying?
I'm saying that some of the particles are nano-sized, submicron size, and some of those can enter other parts of the body without necessarily being inhaled. Once the particles get in the body, then the body moisture starts extracting the toxic elements out of them. And some of the toxic elements I already mentioned, but also one thing that's extracted is aluminum in a chemically mobile form, which is thought to cause autism, Parkinson's disease, various neurological problems. This is serious stuff, and the question becomes, what is happening? Why are our leaders doing this? And the question, and more to the point, is why are not public health services? Now, if times were normal and our government wasn't participating in this, if a foreign power came over and started spraying this stuff, I mean, they might make 2 or 3 passes before they'd be shot down. I mean, this is so we are under siege by our own government or by some shadow government within our government. I don't know what the answer is, but those trails in the sky, and they are not jet condensation trails. They're not moisture, water vapor.
They are deposits. They are injections of coal fly ash, which is you might liken coal fly ash to talcum powder, right? Dr. Herndon, is very, very fine, very light, and it's a lightish color as well. It's kind of light. It's kind of a brownish tint. I published one of those photographs from a coal industry recycling plant that has a jar that is very lightly colored, very airy material.
Most of it is actually darker color. than the one in that photograph. I know the photograph you're talking about.
Yeah, the pretty reporter from
the samples that I've seen and I've had in front of me are more dark gray. That may have. I don't know why that was. Well, I've seen little piles of different colors.
Let me ask you right quick.
But what I've seen are more dark gray colors.
Dr. Herndon, let me ask you a quick question. I've got important commercial messages I want my listener to hear in just a minute. But you had indicated earlier that you were going to try to find a way of following a jet that's making these deposits and collecting from the jet wing itself the content that comes out. What's the progress on that project? Is it a funding issue still, or what's the problem?
No, well, funding's always a question, but more seriously, this is a very, really, to do it right, requires very expensive instruments. And I'm sure that there are government-funded projects where they actually measure what this material that's in the air. But it's really much too prohibitive. Now, I've come up recently with another idea of how to obtain the material. And in one instance, a friend made this, who lives where it snows, made this test. The first snow to fall, he caught a quantity of this, and he allowed it to partially melt and decanted off the liquid, and then let the liquid evaporate to a very small amount, and you can see the particles on there. There's a technique in chemistry called co-precipitation. I mean, if you want to measure the plutonium in seawater, I mean, it's there, but it's not very much there. So how do you do it? Well, you could try to make it precipitate. In other words, combine it with something to make it fall out of solution. But it would not fall out of solution because it is so underabundant. Well, what you do then is you add a substance that will fall out, like ferrous hydroxide, at the same time, and that falls out and it brings the plutonium out with it.
This is David Tulis talking with J. Martin Herndon about coal fly ash and sky striping occurring today. This is David Tulis.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
On this cruise ship, your favorite pool makes its own way. The sun is getting low. Not too bad yourself. Smart guy. Quick advice and deals from Expedia in Chattanooga. Great food, great